When I left Virginia, me and Natalie, we were going to have a conversation. Almost the whole time I was there, she kept on letting me know that she wanted to talk to me one-on-one. Almost the whole time, and I needed the same thing. But Alicia needed the attention. Natalie, she always took a back seat to her sister. And for me, I didn't want to be rude. That's the thing, I was always nice to people. I didn't want to be rude. I didn't want to be offensive because I didn't want them to be cruel to me. I wasn't allowed to defend myself at any point in time. I wasn't allowed to defend myself to the media. They just pick and choose whatever they want to try to paint me as a bad guy. I wasn't allowed to defend myself in the courts. I wasn't allowed to show evidence. I wasn't even allowed to make a police report. And many of these other people who were threatened were not allowed to make a police report. The police made every excuse that they could to every single person who tried to make a report about the bullying and the harassment on the internet. They made every excuse that they could not to take a look. Meanwhile, people want to judge me for speaking out. I was punished without the benefit of a jury. I was punished without being allowed an honest fucking lawyer. Lana and Amanda, the worst thing that they have been able to say that I did up there was play video games and pace. Really? Does that give them a valid excuse for stealing evidence, for lying to me, for stealing my things that I needed? Does that give them a valid excuse? They knew when I left there how badly that would fuck me. They knew it. I wasn't allowed to defend myself against the Bollingers. I wasn't allowed to go to court. I wasn't allowed to have any of the things that were being done to me documented, which is why it all got documented on Facebook. I wasn't allowed to speak to the police about the assaults that I was going through. I wasn't allowed. I needed someone to go in with me because the way that I was painted, they wanted me to be punished and were going to do everything in their power to prevent me from being able to have any recourse legally against these predators. Am I calling Lana and Amanda predators? No, I'm calling Lana a predator straight up. But in specific, the people I'm calling predators right now are the police, the Bollingers, and the courts in Colorado. Right now, I just found out that they have a special committee that's supposed to be for police oversight. There are more hate crimes against the homeless than all other hate crimes combined by times 5. Meanwhile, you make excuses why the homeless deserve it. It's okay for you to assault a homeless person, but if they defend themselves, they go to jail. Black people are arrested at a 5-to-1 ratio in Boulder County versus people in houses. The homeless are arrested at 346. 346 to 1. And you want to make it a race issue. You want to pretend that even though the statistics prove that I'm right, that you must be right because you weren't there. Because somebody pretty said so. Because the media said so. I was never allowed to defend myself in the media. I was never allowed to defend myself against the Bollingers or against Maddie Boa. I was never allowed to confront and face my accusers. I was never allowed to present evidence. I was never allowed to defend myself before being punished. When Karamia kicked all those people out of that group, yes, that frustrated the fuck out of me. And I voiced that because it's the right thing to do. If you just lay down and take it, nothing ever changes, and you spend your entire life laying down and taking it. I documented when I was in Virginia. I documented what Lana and Amanda and Miss Jerry and Miss Candace put me through. I documented it on Facebook. There's a reason that I do these things on Facebook, even though they're against the Facebook rules. It's because the law doesn't care about the homeless, and neither do you. Now let's take a look at this real quick. There's somebody from the Police Officers Union on that panel for police oversight. But there are 0 homeless people on that panel. 0 people who have ever even been homeless. You tell me how it is that we are going to have an unbiased oversight of these officers. Someone from the Police Officers Union is there to protect those officers from their wrongdoing. But there is nobody there to represent the homeless. Nobody on that panel who even knows what homelessness is about. I have gotten a hold of the news media repeatedly. And people still, Erin Cockerham, when I made the phone call to her, what was that, a week ago? She was suggesting I get a hold of the media. Do you have any idea how much time I've spent trying to get the media to listen? When you're a homeless person, you do not get due process of law. They take away the evidence and punish you for speaking out. And there's not a goddamn thing you can do about it. People want to be pissed off at me because I'm irate. And I'm having a constant panic attack. I'm having a constant panic attack because I am not allowed to defend myself. I was punished without being allowed to defend myself, without being allowed to show evidence. People were allowed to threaten my life. People were allowed to assault me repeatedly. And I, at no point in time, was allowed to defend myself. Lana and Amanda assumed that because I was in my room, that I was playing video games. That was their assumption. Their assumption that I spent 4 hours a day playing video games. The reason that I was pacing is because I had shit that needed to get done, and I couldn't do it. I was prevented from doing the things that I needed to do. I had to wait on a public pretender to do her job, which she never did. I needed to have an honest court date. Now, my public pretender in Boulder, her name's Amanda Balehash. And she outright refused to do her job. Because she works with the police and the judges. They decided before court. Now, she told me a completely different story from what the officer that I talked to told me. Amanda Balehash told me that the DA took a look at that video and said that that was an extremely fucked up thing for them to do to me, and that that's why the charges were dropped. The officer told me that the charges were dropped because Officer Vanderleest wanted them to be dropped. Officer Vanderleest knew exactly what she was doing. And the officer I was accused of assaulting was Officer Lolatai, who assaulted me, in order to get a response that they could use to feign an assault. The only reason that they dropped those charges is because they had a better frame-up job at Clearview.